with a good friend, Kudsi, and then he's going to show us Turkish music and then a little bit about makam. And the intervals are very interesting. They have how many? 9?
No.
Between 2 notes?
Yeah, 9. 9 we can say 9.
And then
notes.
a little bit of the rhythmic device in your music.
Okay.
So let's start with makam.
Okay. So first I should say, what does it mean, the word makam? Because it's very interesting in the sense that makam means that the place where you are. It means ikama in Arabic, that your house, your habitation. So makam is the place where you are sitting down, or where you are. Like this place now, this my house is my makam. It's interesting in the sense that we think that the makam music is not a tonal music, but in reality it's a tonal music because there is this idea of makam. There is a tonic. You have a sound, main sound, around which all the melodies are turning around. So makam the word is used for many music in the world, all Arab world, and all Central Asia till Kashgar, Shesh Makam, Azerbaijan, called Mugam, etc. Exception of the India called Raga, and exception of India called Iran called Dastgah or Radif, etc. Donc, but whatever the term, I think all the music which they are purely melodic systems, they are, in a sense, they have many things in common. What is in common is the delicate micro-intervals that we are using. But before going in the subject of micro-intervals, many musicologists, colleagues that I know, they do a mistake to explain that makam is a scale. Or sometimes we say is a tetrachord with a pentachord to make a scale.
That's a Western way of analyzing it.
Yeah, it's a very Western way of analyzing, but it doesn't correspond absolutely to the traditional way of explaining the makam. The word for the makam is, in fact, is also Arabic word which is integrated to the Turkish language also. We call it seyir. Seyir is the itinerary, like the planet has a seyir, is an itinerary, every planet. Or if you go somewhere, you have an itinerary, you have a seyir. So, which means that makam is a melodic voyage, travel, having very specific stations, places where it stops, and having a very specific relation between the sounds. So, and the delicate thing is, of course, as many philosophers in the Middle East, they always said that the art is to find good relation between things. For example, a painter has to find good relation between the colors, and the musician has to find good relation between the sounds. And this is a very old system, in fact, because we know that already Pythagoras, as you pronounce Pythagoras, so we say Pythagoras in French, 500 years ago, before Jesus Christ, he did calculate these intervals. So if we can imagine that antique Egypt, antique Greece already was using these intervals. And we know that also the Gregorian musicians that I know today, they come to me to understand these micro-intervals because their music also was like this. Mm-hmm. So we can suppose that after 12th century or 13th century, with the polyphony coming introduced in the Western music, we condense the intervals to make these 12 intervals in one octave, which is very helpful to make polyphony, which is very helpful to make harmony and contrepoint, to superpose sounds, but which is not very helpful for the pure melody. Because if you do our melodies with a piano, just without any accompaniment, it sounds very fake. So we need all these intervals if we play only purely melodically. So if we need to make a system where we can play all the intervals that we need today for all the makams, we can go till 41 intervals in one octave.
That's
which is a lot.
beyond a lot of classically trained musicians' ability.
But don't be afraid, because there is the evolution from the 18th century in our music, specifically after 18th century, the early 18th century. We use some makams, new makams, with the transpositions and adding some more things, downward and upward, to create new makams with a new itinerary. So it made it more and more sophisticated. That much that some instruments they developed in this sense to have all these ottavas. Some of them they are disappeared. The ones like ney, the flute that I played, like kemençe or tambur, oud, they've been adapted. But for example, the santur that we used to play is disappeared because you cannot all the time change the intervals. So this sophistication, as I told you, is after 18th century, the early 18th century, with the discovering the new makams introduced in the music. And also the other thing that we have in makam, but in Turkey specifically, two music, completely distinguished. One, Anatolian popular music, which has another instrumental system, and another interval system is more Pythagorean with the 17 intervals, and which is getting more and more Western intervals. And the urban music, classical music from the court, from the Sufi tradition, etc. So my ensemble and my subject goes more with the makam music from the heritage of urban and literated music heritage. Why I say this? Because in our literature we have different poetical system. One with the number of the syllables. You have, for example, a line of poem with the 7 syllables, 7 and plus 4, etc. But we have in common with Arab, Turkish, Persian, even in India, we have another system of the poetical metric called aruz. A-R-U-Z, aruz. And aruz is you have prototype of the syllables, long and short syllables. For example, fa-ilatun, fa-ilatun, fa-ilun. So you have to find syllables which goes with this, like bish neves ney çün hikayet mikunet. Fa'ilatun, fa'ilatun, fa'ilun. So you can imagine the rhythm which comes from this. Fa'ilatun, ram, pa, boom, boom. It's 7 beats.
From the language itself.
Yeah. But from 7 beats you can invent the 14. For example, we do dum, te, ka, du, me, te, ka, du, me, te, ka, which is 14. I do it on the table, maybe you will see better. So, dum, te, ka, du, me, te, ka, du, me, te, ka. This is 2/7 joint. So, all the rhythmic cycles, they came out from this. And we have also forms, because like the Shesh Makam in Kashgar or other traditions, when you do the music, you don't play just one piece, you play a whole suite. which means that that in the old time, to know a makam, you should know a piece from all the different forms in order. So the order is a prelude, we call it peshref, and there's a kar, is a sort of masterpiece with the lyrics. Karche, a smaller kar, they are all following each other. And then murabba with the 4-line poetry, murabba, second murabba. So this is the first part, and then you have a improvised singing, poetry, and then you go to the part that we call semai. Semai is the formula of the rhythmic cycles, which 2 beats with the 3 beats together.
Together at the same time?
Yeah, to compose, for example, 5.
Oh.
Dum, ta, ka, is a 5. Or dum, ta, ka, is 7, etc. So all this mix up with the 3 and ternaire and binaire, we call it 3 and 2. It's called semai part. So you have aksak semai, sengin semai, yurik semai, so all these singing parts. And at the end, we play instrumental semai. So when we have concert with the instrumental, just instrumentally, we play peshrefs and semais, the beginning of the suite and the end of the suite, which they are instrumental. Sometimes even if there is a very fantastic melody, without singing even, that we play it, even it needs to have the lyrics. But
so the forms are always in sequence in
yeah, they have to follow. So the first part of the suite is always big rhythmic cycles. For example, I told you yesterday, I show you the 28.
Oh, yeah.
28, which is mostly used for the preludes also, which is dum, tek, ka, du, me, tek, ka, du, dum. Du, me, dum, tek, dum, tek, dum, hek, tek, ka, du, me, tek, du, me, tek, du, me, dum, hek, tek, dum, hek, tek, ka, du, me, tek, ka. These are the big cycles. But even for the small ones, I noticed, for example, when we play with the Western musicians, as I told you yesterday, for the 10, which is the rhythmic cycle of the instrumental semai. So they do this mistake, always calculating 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And this is not for us a rhythmic cycle, because you indicate all the beats. The cycle, when there is a empty space, when there's the silence and the beaten. So if all the times are beaten, it's like a metronome for us. You see, for example, if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, da, 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 it's a metronome. But if you do da, 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 and then it's a rhythmic cycle. Is that clear? So when we do, for example, the 10 is for us dam, ba, boom, boom, ba, ka, boom, da, boom, boom, ba, ka. But this is the basic thing. But if you do with more, is dum, tek, ka, dum, ra, ka, ta, ka, dum, ra, ka, ta, ka, ra, ka, dum, ba, dum. Dum, ra, ka, ta, ka, dum, dum, hek, tek, dum, tek, ka, tek, dum, hek, tek. This is the 10. But the other one, the simple one, is just to learn the melody is used, because you just sit in front of your master and you put your hands on your knees, like I do now on the table, and then you do like this to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you just hear the sound of the beats, it makes du, te, ka, du, ek, tek. Okay? So we have many rhythmic cycles like this, and the biggest cycle is 66.
66.
And then after 66, there are what we call the combinations. So you put a 66 with a 28, etc. So you can have even one piece only with one measure. So it's a very long measure. But what is interesting in this, not only for the percussion pointed, but for a composer, because long time I was saying that how the composer can compose in that period that they were not using the porter, because he has to memorize himself what he's inventing as a melody, and how he can do it, because there are pieces with very long pieces, not a song. For example, sometimes we have one composition 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And no repetitive melodies, it's really very, very large melodies. So I understand now, because if you memorize things on beating the rhythmic cycle, and then it becomes very clear, the melody becomes very easy. So that's why we call that free melody fixed on a rhythmic becomes a composition.
Again?
When you have a free melody, if you fix it on the rhythmic, it becomes a composition. So that's why the rhythmic cycle is very important. I hope that when we do this collaboration, we can evoke these big rhythmic cycles, not only with percussions, but also with the other instruments of some bit melodic
With the whole orchestra.
With the orchestra.
Figure out a way how we can do it with the whole orchestra.
Yeah, and it's nice that we think about it, because I will transform. I was thinking about this. What I did prepare, I will redevelop in this sense. So I think it would be very interesting to have the whole orchestra coming into our melodies with some rhythmic cycles, very elaborated rhythmic cycles, and it would be very nice. For example, dum pap boom boom taka 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 raka room pap boom boom taka taka dum pap boom boom taka taka. For example, 16 beats. You see, these kind of elements, I think it would be very nice to be introduced, and so the other subject that I think is very important to know how we write the music is a very delicate question, because the relation of writing and interpretation, it was different in the past, because till the time that we introduced the Western notation, which is more or less exact for us, it was a question of memory. So you had to memorize all the pieces that you play before. But now we look, because the Western notation gives you clearly the movement, so it's very easy to do. But in the past, they used to write also music, not to look and play, but to keep it to safe.
Keep a record.
Yeah, in case that it is forgotten. So the earliest one that we used, it was the alphabet, like English, A, B, C, D, etc.
The Arabic alphabet?
The Arabic alphabet, and we call it abjad. And long time, but there's very little pieces that we can find today written with abjad. And then we had in the early 16th century, early 17th century, by a Polish person from Poland. His name is Bobowski, Alfred Bobowski, who was a prisoner of war, an aristocrat from Poland. And he became Muslim. He took the name Ali Ufki. And this Ali Ufki, he introduced the Western Porte. He was the first person who introduced this. And it's so funny because I can show you even his writing. I have it here. The copy of the edition. You see? You can see it now.
Oh wow, that's the notation?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So this person is really early, I think 16 and 20, something like that. He was in Istanbul. And what he has done, of course, he wrote from right to the left, like the Arabic writing. And he placed, for example, the first note on the first line of the porte, etc. So it's very easy to transpose and to read. But it was not so popularized. It's been used only in his manuscript, but nothing else. And this manuscript is today in the French National Library, and one copy in the British Library. And later on, we had a very fine musician who was in the same time a sultan, Selim III. He is dead in 1801. So he was in the throne in 1789 with the French Revolution, the same time. And this sultan, he was a great poet and a great musician. So he invented makams, and so he was playing ney like me also. And he asked around him that they should find a musical notation and fix the writing. So many people, they tried to write to find a system. One of them, it was Nai Osman Dede, just before the Selim, before he came on the throne. And another one is an Armenian called Hamparsum Limonjian. Hamparsum Limonjian. Because we have many Armenian, Istanbul Armenians, who they contribute to the music, and they were great composers. And Hamparsum Limonjian, he was one of the greatest composers in the 19th century. And he did adaptate the Armenian writing, which is called khaz, and it has been transformed into musical notation, grammatic notation. And we call this writing Hamparsum. And this Hamparsum notation was very popular. Even the generation of my father, they were reading Hamparsum, they were writing with Hamparsum. But next to this, there is another writing, which is the Byzantine writing. Byzantine Church has the same makam music with us. And they have their writing also like with the following the movements. And it's very, very easy. I checked with my Greek friends. I don't know why we didn't adaptate this, and we did adaptate the Western Forte, which is more complicated. And then it comes another personality, Romanian, is in 18th century also. Romanian is from Moldavia. He was the Prince of Moldavia, and we call it Prince Kantemir. He spent 12 or 15 years in Istanbul, and he invented also another musical writing, which is the progress of the one which is invented before him by Osman Dede, Nai Osman Dede. Which consists, because each one of these intervals that I said, 41, they have a name. Not do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, not this. Yeah, each precisely. And also different name in the octave. For example, if you have Rast in the octave is Gerdaniye. Is another name, because if you see Gerdaniye, you know that is in the octave, not.
But this is Romanian. The name?
The Romanian is called Prince Cantemir. So what he has done, he invented writing with the initial of the name of the interval. So, for example, the first degree is called Rast, and then the second degree is called Düga. Third degree, I'm talking about the main intervals, not in between. Sega, the third interval, and fourth is Charga. For example, to write the Rast, he put just R. So if you see in Arabic letters, the R means it's Rast. Düga is Dal, D. And Sega is Sin, the letter S. And Charga, Cha. So it was another way of writing the music, but it's been, just as I told you, just to protect the music, not to look and play. To look and to read and play in the same time came after 1930s with the Western Porte. When we arrived to the Western Porte, there was another complication, because we had two musicologists. They were not agree at all. One, he wanted to absolutely write in a sense of the Western mind. So he was thinking that the Western person, seeing this notation, he could play. But it never worked. In the other one, he was saying that, no, I write this adapted to the one who knows the makams already. So the difference, the Western way of doing, which his name is RL, he imagined a makam which doesn't exist. Equivalent of the C major, Charga. But this makam doesn't exist. It's a completely speculative idea. And which means that everything is natural. But we use a third which is different. Naturally, we use in all the makams a third which is not a bitonic. I mean, it's not two tones. So it's not natural. It has to be a bit slower. So he invented this bemol upside down, each time to mark that naturally is our scale, you know. So you will see in the portraits all the time this, specifically the C, B, with a bemol and B flat, one comma, let's say. Because what we do afterward, instead to make it easy, we have 4 signs in between 2 intervals, and we imagine that we can divide it in 1 comma in commas. So you know the Pythagorean comma is 81, 80 is divided 80. So we can imagine there is 9 commas in 1 tone, which is a very speculative thing, but it's not mathematically correct. I mean, physically it's not correct. But more or less, so you can have 1 bemol with 1 comma. We have another bemol with a B with a bar on it, which is considered 4 commas. In another bemol, which is like Western bemol, considered 5 commas. But that is not enough to indicate all the intervals that we use in between. Anyhow, so there is a difference between the practice and this writing. And but it worked, the Western notation, because people, they know the makams. So you don't need all this bemol and diesis. You know the name of the makam, you know what are the intervals, and you play. So we are not really 100% with what is written. And other problem, we have to write it, because the Western mind has a fixed sound. When you hear a sound, you say this is A, or this is A flat, or D, etc. For us, it doesn't work like this. Even to have an absolute ear, for us, is a handicap. Because we have to think, when we hear a sound, this to consider this sound as a, for example, as a first note, and then you build up everything on it. It can be do and re or mi or fa, whatever it is. But if you have absolute ears, you cannot. Then you think differently, and it's not possible. So I show you. We have many different keys, but this is the ney, which is called Mansur. And I will tell you that our main makam is Rast. Let's say like a G minor, G major. Okay, so for the absolute ears is sol, la, si, do, re, mi, fa, sol, right? You see, this is the third is smaller, but also the fifth of the third is also lower. Huh? It's always the thirds are smaller. So we have on this you see that's all the range, which is called Mansur. This is very important because we write all the makams as we were playing on Mansur, on this key. So which means that if we write Rast, we write it on Sol all the time. But it doesn't mean that we will play it on Sol, because we have different keys. The practical thing of this, if we write Rast on Sol, you have very little bit notes which come under the porte, and very little bit up the porte. So it becomes easier to read. But if I have to transpose the notation each time that I change the key, and then either we use like the different keys of key of F or Ud, etc., to keep everything more in the porte. So what we do, we use still the clé de sol, the key of G, but we keep the writing fixed and we transpose by playing. Is that clear? Now this is another key which is one tone up, which will be the one that probably we will use as
Islam.
This is the one that we use most of the time. I will tell you why. So this is called Kudsi. And there is another one which is the Rast on Do.
Oh, this is C.
And that is one up.
This is D.
Yes. You see? Now, this is considered as the main key for us. Bol ahenk. But so all the instruments, they are string instruments, they are tuned for this. But This is a very high, too high. So that's why we just transpose a fourth down to play with this, with Kız.
There's the A1.
Yeah, this is the A1. You see? And then also there is another thing. You just evoked the relation with the Indian ragas. Indian raga has one tonic and all the modes is built up of this. We change the tonics. For example, there are makams which they have as a tonic the rust, the first degree, which is an A in this name. So but we have many makams which is on this tonic. But we have also other makams which they are on. See?
So in different modes, I can see that.
Yeah, there's a different makam, but in the same organization we use the second degree. But in India, it will be the difference. So if I do, for example, this is one makam. If I do it, the second one, which is in the second tonic, the Indians, they should do the same thing. The same tonic should be the second degree again. Instead of doing, but as they have the same tonic all the time, they will keep the same note as always the same tonic, which for us is changing. So sometimes it can be the third degree. You see? Sometimes it's the fourth degree. See? And this fourth, rast, yasa, yacharga, who can be so la si do or la si do re, is always one important element on which we have first degree. But sometimes we move the first degree a fourth down or one tone down to create a new makam. For example, if I do because I do instead of, you see, and or upward also I can do something like this. Like okay, so we move a lot the tonic. I say sometimes to explain to my students, I say like in the politics, you have some political system which is very absolutist. So you have one king. He wants to be always there. He wants to do everything by himself. Like today, many politicians, they want to be the one-man show. Huh? So we have makams which they go in this sense. So there is one tonic, very imposing. And all your composition, it goes to create the relation with the other degrees. For example, makam ras, the main makam that we have. This is the tonic. So whatever I play, I have to bring all the degrees to present all the sounds one by one to this sound, like. See, oh, it's always there. Whatever you do, you have to bring
Always come
everything.
back.
This is the absolutism, like a king who wants to do everything by himself. And the other one, the other kind of system that we have is more constitutional. So you have a king, but he's not putting his nose to everything. He let the others to do. So he has like a minister. And just at the end, you present everything to the king. For example, now, if I do this, you think that this is the tonic. It's not. It's just at the end I come to the real tonic. And there are also very Republican makams. Though every degree has its importance, but it's you just go around with this. For example, so as I'm just give you an image, but it's very important to know that our tonic is not a fixed tonic like in Indian raga. We have this fourth element of fourth, first, second, and third, and fourth degree, which can be transposed in different places, and you build up new makams with this. Right? We will use this key, which the first degree it will be on A. Therefore, probably because it will be more comfortable for the string instruments. It gives more possibility to go high notes and come to the low notes, and give more change. And so we have as an instrument, we have ney, as you saw. The kemençe, I gave you the link, the person who, pardon, sorry, who explains very well her way of playing the kemençe. And wood, you know, the lute, a long neck lute, and the same lute played with the bow and canon. And so the rank that they will have is like I gave you here on the nails, this same space. We use 2 octaves, and then a fourth on top of it, possibly a fourth, it depends. And also the thing, the richness of this music is the freedom that we have in the interpretation. So we are very good improviser, all the musicians.
We have to figure out the way how we can, maintain this part.
Yeah.
And while everyone still knows how to.
Yeah, we will be in the respect. We should be in the respect of the writing, but with some freedom of expression.
Yeah, definitely.
You see, for example, I give you this example when once I was playing with an orchestra who was playing in Mozart, Tam pararam pam 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 paradi da 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 da, something like this. And they were playing very rigidly, dum pam 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 pam, very military. And I had another vision of this melody, and I wanted to play spontaneously with them. Bam pararayram tarariram tiriram tiriram. And it was, for them, it was a scandal, you see. And so don't be scandalized with this kind of expressions. So I like to let my musicians free to express themselves from this melody as they feel it. Because then, and that's why, because if we bring everything in this sense of Western mind of interpretation, then we reduce lots of things, lots of possibilities. This is one thing, which means that how to interpret what is written. But also there are many moments that we can leave just a small phrase to each instrument that I will think of it, and if you want, you can join also on this idea in the arrangements, and also one thing that I noticed that made many Chinese music that I hear, we avoid the silence.
Avoid what?
We avoid the silence.
Silence.
I think silence should take a part of the music.
What?
Sometimes, not big halls, but some spaces which can be really like a moment of inspiration. We can use the silence also. I like to use in my compositions, and.
Well, Chinese music is for a broader sense. Silence is also part of their art form, especially in the painting.
Yeah.
There's a term for it called in Chinese called Liu Bai. That means he saved the white. It's translated as.
Yeah.
So there's musical Liu Bai as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Silence.
Okay.
It's needed in the music.
Yeah.
It is so.
I think it's neat, because when I don't like the things too busy. So we can be more spacious, especially if we title this project from the steps to the serai. In the steps is more spacey, but in the serai may be more busy. But you know, my first degree is A here in this name. Second degree. Now, I try to go from the second degree upward to see how many intervals there are, and I will just make a small phrase corresponding to the mode in the question. This interval is called Nihawand, which is the name of a city in Iran today.
So that's the first one.
No. And the other one is called Kurdi. Kurdi is a bit higher.
So it's number how many?
Number 2 now.
Number 2.
Not. And the third one is what we call Dik Kurdi. Not this first one. Second one is. Third one is. Okay. Which is called, for example, in the Makam Hijaz. I came to name. And the other one called Ushak. Ushak. With the double she. Ushak.
That's number 4.
The fourth one. And this one is only used in the Makam Ushak, which has the same name, when the Makam goes to the conclusion. See, it's not. Okay. Now the other one is called Seya, which is in Makam Rast, in Makam Suzinak, in Makam Seya. Let's do Seya.
Okay.
Is evet, QD, Uşak, Seya 5. And we have another one which is Dik Siga, this is the sixth one, number 6, which is used, for example, on the Makam Mahur. Mahur Makam is a descendant Makam. You hear the difference. And then another one, the seventh one, is just Pusilik. Busilik or Pusilik. Okay, so okay, another one which is called Diksaya.
7.
Yeah, 7. No, 8.
8.
Yeah.
Already 8?
Yeah. Which is called in Makam Nishapur, or when you play, for example, Panchya or Nishaburek, etc. All this use this entire one, the different Makams. And then we come another one,
The last one.
which is the Chargya, 4th degree, but a bit slower, a bit lower. Which is specifically used in Makam Chargya, Makam Sabah, Makam Dugya. So if I do a do natural, should be not. Okay.
So that's it's very close to the fourth degree.
Yeah, very close, but it's slightly
No,
lower.
yeah,
Slightly lower. So which means that the same situation in other degrees, the same. For example, if I consider this as a first degree, so each has also a different name.
Very complicated.
It's not so complicated. Once you understand this system, it goes very quickly. So the originality of this music is as these intervals. You see, like you were saying in Chinese, if you pronounce the same syllable in 4 different ways, it has a different sense. So here also it's like a language. So if you don't do it in intervals, you lose the sense of the makam. But we have to, the challenge, I think, in our work, because we have an orchestra behind, and we want to use the harmony and contraband in the Western sense. So how to keep the melodies with these intervals as much as we can, and augment the moments that we can use these intervals, and also the orchestra had to be there. So I think that is the challenge of the person who will make the arrangement.
I think I'll try. Of course, there are part of the compositions where you can play all of them on your own. But I'm trying to make it set it in a way that the orchestras can also, at some point, doing the same thing. But they, of course, they have to train. They have to hear you first.
Yeah, but I would love that we have some unison moments also.
Yeah, of course.
Just a bit, and always to go from unison to the polyphony for the orchestra, not all the time just orchestra like an accompaniment, but we will find, I think there are many things, we have good material to work on it. And now after having this meeting with you, now I have new ideas. I will transform everything in a different sense. And
well, as long as we keep very close contact. I mean, in the world.
Yeah, as each time that I am in progress, I will send you the scores also, and also maybe my son also can have some suggestion of the harmonization, because he's next to me, so I can hear what he's doing, and so I can try. And if there's things that I am pleased, so I will let you know.
Yeah, sure. So we'll go from here. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Very fruitful for these 2 days. And,
no, it was a pleasure. I think it's a good. I always say that when you meet 2 musical language, either you have somebody who knows both of them very well, which is very rare.
Usually it's the
because when you are formed for one, you don't hear the other one. You see. And there's a very good, intense collaboration between 2 persons who knows his word. So then it becomes a dialogue, possible dialogue. But otherwise it becomes some Orientalist work. I don't like it.
All right. Hopefully, we'll have a great work together, and then we'll keep doing it.
I hope so.
You have your part, and you work with your son, and then with the.
Yeah, we will.
Internet. It's easy. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Till then, bye bye.